I found myself staying near London's Hyde Park corner. As it turned out, London was playing host to another visitor at the same time, Star Trek The Adventure. I thought perhaps my friends in San Francisco may be interested to know in what I saw, and even my impressions. Surprisingly, I was allowed to videotape this exhibition. Surprising because Star Trek as a copyrighted work ought to be protected from any old Tom, Dick or Stephen, for that matter, with a video camera. Well, I ponied up my £15.50p, which is approximately $26. And at 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 27th of February 2003, I began to experience Star Trek The Adventure. First up were bits and pieces from Star Trek Nemesis. That's the latest Star Trek movie. I hadn't actually seen the film, so I really can't be in a position to say whether or not I was supposed to be impressed or not. What I did see was something that looked like the supervillain's go-kart. I hope he had fun in it. The first area that actually began to make some kind of sense to me was actually from Star Trek Enterprise, Lieutenant Reed's armory. People who have seen this video have actually said to me, wow, it looks so realistic. Well, I guess that's part of the magic of television, because in reality it looks a little cheesier. But then again, you could say that for almost any set if you've actually seen a real one. And speaking of sets, for those of you who know anything about TV production, Lieutenant Reed's console looks rather more like a Grass Valley switcher than anything out of Star Trek, the original show, or The Next Generation. But I guess that's part of the charm of the new show. I resisted the temptation to actually push any of the buttons. After all, I did not want to have to explain to Her Majesty the Queen why there is now a photon torpedo blast hole in the middle of Buckingham Palace.
Facts and figures. Just what does it take to put Star Trek The Adventure together? When you emerge from the many wondrous exhibits and seats you've just seen, and the many incredible experiences you've just been through, you might wish to pause and look back. You might wish to think for a moment about the mammoth feat of engineering that supports it all, and the hundreds of people who have been involved in its design and construction. The housing itself is 30 meters wide, 50 meters in length, and 17 meters in height. The content of the exhibition weighs approximately 250 tons. That includes more than 300 authentic props, costumes, and models.
With an involvement in all the television shows, the features.
There was so much gadgetry to look at, I was wondering whether I should have actually plunked down the £3, that's $5.
Actually, it gets a bit boring from here. So for that caller who actually just called in, please call in again. And in the meantime, I will turn you back to the show. As it turns out, this is for those people who want to see the works I've done in the early 2000s, because it does give everything a sense of context. And that way, you know, it might be of information, of use to people.
Series with Captain Kirk, Howard Anderson, and Matt Jeffries were pioneers for visual effects in television.
It's a bit really boring, actually, but that's okay. I was showing this for a bunch of basically Star Trek geeks, and they seem to like it. I mean, it was intended for a very specialized audience, but I'm not going to apologize any further.
One of the big leaps for us was moving from 1-inch analog to digital video. That gave us the opportunity to duplicate without any image degradation whatsoever, and we were able to then do much more complex shots. Sometimes they would have over 90 different elements for a single shot. On Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and the first few seasons of Voyager, we used exclusive model photography. The advantage of that is that you could see the model, you could get a feel for it, and computer animation was not as sophisticated then as it was now, so we were kind of dragged into it by requirements of the
I used state-of-the-art animation for those titles. I went up, found a Airstream van, took photographs of it at night, and then photoshopped it in with a bunch of music graphics from Winamp. It's state-of-the-art. And as it turned out, I was planning on using a vacuum cleaner, an antique vacuum cleaner. And unfortunately, I threw it out the very day before I thought of using it. This is one of the reasons why I tried to track
shifting over into computer-generated imagery was that all physical limitations of track length, column height, and east-west track were taken away. All computer models can go anywhere that you want to. They can roll, they can twist, they can move around, they can go any distance because there were no limitations from the physics of a track. Or in the case of a motion control miniature model, there would always be a stick or a